right? We look at this total here. It's at 49 and a half. Larry, I'll start with you. How are you going about betting this total? And again, we're 10 days out. Are we waiting a little bit of time to get some better value?
Well, I'm going to stay away from the full game total, but Katie, there is one angle I like in this total, and that's the Chiefs under 24 and a half total points. You know, they just hit 30 for the first time all season, and this is by far the best defense they have faced. You know, they played a couple of good defenses in Houston and Denver. They didn't exactly light up the scoreboard either time, and they just don't allow explosive plays. The Eagles are number one in explosive pass rate allowed, so you're going to have to matriculate the ball down the field with long drives. And we know the Eagles are capable of mounting very, very long drives. So the Chiefs can still win this game 24-21, 24-20, something of that nature. But I love the Chiefs going under 24 and a half.
Yeah, speaking of 24 and a half, what I would play right now, Katie, is the first half under 24 and a half. Because if it goes up to 25 or 25 and a half, those are not key numbers for me. I'm worried about it dropping to a flat 24 or under 24 and a half, so I want to grab this good number while I can. If I want to go full game, I like sort of lean under here. I'm going to wait because you've both been to Super Bowls. I've been to a bunch of Super Bowls. Here's what happens. The public comes roaring in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and what do? The public plays get bet late in the second week. Overs, favorites, sexy props. So if you were an under guy like me, for the full game, I want to wait to the end of next week because I think the total will spiral up. But I'll grab the first half under now because I'm not worried about any key numbers. I can only lose. I really can't gain.
I like both of those plays, and I feel like if Mike McClure were here, he would combine those and do a first half team total under because that's what he always does on the show. I will say that the Chiefs did hit the over on their total in the last two Super Bowls, so that will be something interesting. But I agree with you, EK, when you say let's wait because the public is going to bet this one up, and we'll have to see where it goes. Keeping it in scoring, what would be your first scoring play if we look at the odds here, courtesy of BetMGM? Touchdown minus 165. Both of these teams have been known to march down and score very quickly. Field goal at plus 140, and then other score at plus 5,000. EK, what do you think here?
I kind of lean field goal because I get the better number. Neither team are really fourth down like Mavericks. There's no Dan Campbell in this game. Philadelphia's around 10th. Kansas City is more middle of the pack or even second, wave of teams in terms of going for it. Kansas City doesn't push, so, they may just try to get on the board in that spot. So I'll lean field goal, both very solid field goal kickers. Butker is rock solid in big spots. I'll lean field goal, but I really don't see much value in either play.
Yeah.
Yeah, in perfect indoor conditions, and we saw Nick Sirianni trot out Jake Elliott for a 54-yarder outdoors. So if it's indoors, maybe he will take those points, even though they are more likely to go for it on fourth down early in the game, whereas the Chiefs usually wait and only go for it fourth down in the second half. I'm also going to lean field goal just because, both these teams, Katie, you mentioned, have been coming out and scoring touchdowns on the first drive, but they haven't faced defenses like they're going to see. Both of these teams are very elite defensively, so I think they will get stopped and kick a field goal.
Well, certainly that's going to lend towards the under that both of you guys are playing in this game. I will say if you are going to play a touchdown, I like Jalen Hurts. Obviously, it depends on who wins the toss here. Both of these teams will likely defer, but the Eagles have scored in their first possession over the last three games in the playoffs. And let's not forget, Jalen Hurts scored 3 times with his legs in the last Super Bowl. Now let's go towards the end of the game. The final 2 minutes of not the end of the game, the first half of the first half. Will there be a score, EK, yes or no?
Not at that price. I mean, yes, at minus 300 is an implied percentage of 75%. I mean, if it was an even money bet, I would take yes, but I'm not willing to go lay $3 on that price. So they're sort of pigeonholing me and forcing me to go the other way. Yeah. So at those numbers, it's a no or nothing for me.
This is 10-5 to the yes over the past 15 years. It has hit the last 2 years with Jake Elliott a couple of years ago at the buzzer and then Harrison Butker last year. But still, you're right, EK. The price is just too high at minus 300 to justify going with this. But more likely than not, yes, we will get a score.
Okay, so let's talk about which team scores first. Of course, this again depends on the toss. Both like to defer. Eagles minus 118, Chiefs minus 118, Eagles minus 110. I will say that the Eagles have been successful in their first drive in 6 of their last 7 games, 4 of those resulting in a touchdown. Larry, who do you think gets on the board first?
I lean here towards the Eagles. You said it, Katie. Both teams will defer, so there's no advantage in terms of who's going to get the ball first. It all depends on that coin toss. But the Eagles have come out throwing, even though they're a running team. If you look at their postseason history, look what they did in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They come out throwing the ball to build a lead, and then they want to pound you with the run game. So I love the way the Eagles have been starting. And the Chiefs have had some slow starts, and they make those great halftime adjustments. So, yeah, I'm leaning Eagles.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. I lean Eagles, but I don't know how you bet this until you see the coin toss and know who's going to get the ball first. Yeah. I mean, this is a very random play right now because, again, I don't know who. I could bet one team and never even see the ball because I'm betting it before I know who's getting the rock first. So I sort of lean Eagles just because Kansas City has started slow in spots. When they did play 2 years ago, the Eagles were better early in the game, which, I mean, it's me clinging to something as opposed to nothing, even though I acknowledge it's not much. So I will go Eagles, but this would never end up on my scorecard.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you on this one. All right, let's think about passing touchdowns. The line for the full game is at 3.5. The under juiced to minus 190. And EK, this makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you think about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, well, they're a run-first team. That's going to go through Saquon Barkley. We look at someone like Patrick Mahomes. He's gone under 1.5 passing touchdowns in 6 of his last 7 games against top 10 passing defenses. So at 3.5 for the whole game, EK, over or under?
Under. It's starting to squeeze the value out of that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're getting up to $1.90, which I'm not going to play $1.90 on this kind of prop. But here's what you're looking at. What are possible game scripts, right? What are the possible game scripts? The only really ones you're going to get over is if both teams do really well, or this is an over game where one team runs away and then the other team's chasing the whole time and you get a garbage one out the door as the 4th touchdown. But if this is going to be a reasonably close middle or lower scoring game than expected, which is sort of where I am, then I think the value is on under. Both, you got that tush push. You obviously know that Philadelphia is not messing around inside the 5. They're going to run. But Kansas City will run as well. Now, last year and 2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes was more inclined to do that little flip as somebody's coming in front of him, which actually counts a touchdown pass, even though it's a handoff. And I do worry about that. But they will hand it to Isaiah Pacheco. They will hand it to Kareem Hunt. So I lean under here, even at that price.
Yeah, it's not easy to throw touchdowns against either of these pass defenses. That's where the strengths are. So you're going to run it in. We know the Eagles are going to run it in from wherever they are on the field, especially if they get very close. That's going to be their preference. And I'm also like you, EK, looking for something like 24-23 Eagles, a game that falls slightly under the total. So I'm not predicting 38-35 like we had 2 years ago. So that means I'm going under as well.
All right, what about the defenses? Obviously, the big storyline going into Championship Sunday was that neither of these teams had turned the ball over, or any of the 4 teams had turned the ball over. That didn't last in this one. Philly for a DST touchdown plus 600, Chiefs plus 650. Larry, what do you think?
Yeah, we've had 35 defensive or special teams touchdowns in 58 Super Bowls. And, we had one 2 years ago when Jalen Hurts basically dropped the ball and then Nick Bolton scoops and scores. He wasn't really hit on that play. He was just adjusting, trying to make a move. He dropped the ball. I think he's going to be a little more careful. He's gone 206 postseason pass attempts without an interception. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to throw a pick 6. So I would need a lot higher odds to make this bet.
Yeah, I'm with Larry. I mean, I thought there'd be, I'm like, wait, there's not a 1 in front of that 6? It's just plus 600?
Yeah.
And I only get one team? I don't get either team? I got to pick the right team and I'm only getting plus 600? This is a get gouged bet. This is not one that you want to lay. I'm out of this one.